Recognized, Uncle Walker, D01. Recognized, Emily of Arden, D12. Recognized, Joe Moniac, D05.
Hello, team. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for episode 16 of Whelmed Season 4. My name is Rich, and with me is my co-host Emily and producer Neil.
Hey everyone, in these review episodes we'll be diving into the plots, characters, Easter eggs, comic book history, and everything else of Young Justice, and use all of that as a springboard to talk about the creative writing process along the way.
Our review segments will avoid any major spoilers for later episodes, but we'll be discussing them in further detail in our final segment, Crashing the Moat.
Mahal.
I was just coming up to get you.
For the intervention.
For the intervention.
And with all that out of the way, let's hand it over to Emily for...
Hello, Megan!
The title of this week's episode is Emergency Dive. The release date was March 31st of 2022. The in-episode dates were June 1st and 2nd. The writer was Brandon Vietti, the director was Christopher Berkeley, and the voice director was, as always, Jamie Thomason.
Special guest voice credits include Robbie Damon as Wind and Blubber,
Brighton James as Virgil Hawkins and Machiste,
David Kay as Arian and Rius Nereus,
Phil Lamar as Orin,
Eric Lopez as Jaime Reyes,
Yuri Lowenthal as Lagan,
Tia Sirkar as Delphis, Coral, and Chan,
Roger Craig Smith as Orm and Rodun,
Kat Suki as Marinarius,
and Mae Whitman as Cassie Sandsmark.
Just in time for your next mission.
This week's episode opens in Happy Harbor, where we see that McGann has returned from Mars with baby Bioship and is settling back into life without Connor. And during their conversation about how she's been doing, Forager reveals that Garfield has quit Space Trek, left the Outsiders, and broken up with Perdita, and suggests that McGann should go speak with him, as we have all desperately waited for.
You think?
After the credits, we return to Poseidonus, where Arian is undergoing a magical identification test which, when combined with a traditional DNA test, confirms to the best of everyone's abilities that he is, in fact, Arian, a mortal former Lord of Atlantis. Mara and Orin ask Arian if he knows where his legendary crown is now, and he confirms that it was lost when Atlantis was initially sunk and is now buried deep below Zebel, far deeper than any explorers have yet to search.
Somewhere out in space, Connor is hallucinating McGann as a way to keep himself motivated while wandering through a desolate and monotonous space landscape. And back in Poseidonus, Xian, one of Arian's attendants, tries to convince him to speak with the people who are excited for his return and give them hope. But Arian refuses, having no interest in their praise or in claiming the throne. Meanwhile, as Mara and Orin worry about the prophecy and what Arian's recent actions mean for the future of their kingdom, Orin sends Calder on a super covert mission to investigate the undersea that lies beneath Zebel in hopes of uncovering Arian's lost crown.
And over in Hollywood, McGann visits Garfield at the premiere building and tries to reason with him about his need for mental health treatment to combat his current self-destructive behavior. Garfield admits that he's depressed and hurting himself, but insists that he knows what he needs and that he'll get through this just like he's gotten through every tragedy for the last 10 years. But McGann clearly isn't convinced. Back in Atlantis, Calder gathers his covert team, a very annoyed Wind. Dang it, I thought I was going to get through that. A very annoyed Wind who wants Calder to take a break, and Lagan who really needs to get back before his wife gives birth. Somewhere out in space, Connor is now hallucinating the ghost of Wally West, telling him that the only way to make it to his real afterlife is to keep moving and prove himself worthy by not giving up.
Back in Poseidonus, Orin visits Ocean Master in prison and tries to question him about his motives and history, but when one of his answers seems off, Orin requests a DNA test to determine whether or not the prisoner is actually his brother. Orin then departs for reasons unknown, leaving Mara in charge during his absence. Over in Hollywood, McGann stages an intervention, hoping that the other members of the Outsiders can reason with Garfield. And while some of the things said do seem to almost reach him, he continues to dismiss their help and concern, until McGann reminds him that mental health checks are now mandatory. So, unless he wants to officially and permanently leave the Outsiders, he's required to have one therapy session with a Black Canary.
Meanwhile, back out in space, Connor's latest hallucination is Superman, encouraging him to get up and keep going. But his motivational speech is interrupted by Match, flying out of nowhere, attacking Superman, and killing him, followed by Connor seeing himself as Match, with Clark's blood on his hands before then passing out. Back underwater, Calder and his team use the growing unrest in Zebel to cover their infiltration of the city. As they approach the Grave of Legends, Delphise distracts a number of guards before they can catch our heroes, and Calder agrees to let her join the team. Together, they make their way into the undersea, where a cave-in destroys the tunnel behind them, blocking their only easy exit.
Elsewhere in Atlantis, after confronting Ocean Master's Lieutenant Danuth, Orin determines that Orm, currently being held in prison, cannot be his actual brother. During their earlier conversation, Ocean Master mentioned Orin visiting him during his previous imprisonment, and while Orin did travel to the prison 16 times, he always left before actually speaking with Orm. Danuth confirmed that during the month before Ocean Master's latest capture, all of his memories after his previous imprisonment were spotty and incomplete, leading even Danuth to question the true identity of this Ocean Master. Blubber confirms that the current Ocean Master is actually a clone of the original Orm, and Orin believes that Arian's arrival must be connected to the cloned Orm. Orin then decides he needs to speak with Arian, but then learns that Arian and Xian have both escaped the castle and disappeared without a trace. And in our end-credits scene, we watch two Harpers listen to Forager speak about his time as Fredbug during his valedictorian speech. But with that, it's time for some Aster.
Superboy, are you alright?
I'm fine. Feeling the Aster.
So, I will start us because I feel like I missed this on the last recording and I have not had the time to go check. So, the previous logline for last episode was Clark Kent gets all the news that's fit to print, and Calderam hears old family stories from his parents. Today's logline is Calderam, Wind, and Lagan go for a swim. King Orin, oh, that's the voice. Obviously, we should be using the 1920s voice for these loglines. Yeah. I'm a fool.
Do it.
Calderam, Wind, and Lagan go for a swim. King Orin goes fishing. Next time on Young Justice.
Yeah, it was right there.
It was the whole time.
It was right there.
Well, that
do last
we've
week.
Cracked
do
the
last
code.
time.
We've cracked the code.
Clark Kent gets all the news that's fit to print, and Calderam hears old family stories from his parents. Last time on Young Justice.
Nailed it.
I assume Greg wrote those with that voice in mind.
The code, it all makes sense now.
It's bad. The fact you opened it up with a...
Well, yeah. News from the front.
News from the front.
So, the first scene we see leads me to multiple questions about the beginning of this episode and the end of this episode, while also hearkening back to previous episodes. I feel like this first scene is confirmation that Forager 100% knew the bioship was not coming back. That, like, why he was so sad and others were not is because he knew, like, that's what she talked about. Like, she's not going to come back. Like, this is it. Also, I was just taking out that graduation cap for a test run there because either the end credit scenes isn't happening after our final timestamp or he's wearing it a whole day ahead. Because the last timestamp we have is June 2nd and the first one we have is June 1st. I don't know. It's not that it matters.
It doesn't matter that much.
I don't know.
They're happening concurrently.
I also just love the idea that he's just wearing it.
He's just excited.
He's
It's
like,
a funky hat.
It might be the only thing he's wearing at the graduation. So, I mean,
No, they got him a graduation robe. You know they did.
He doesn't.
What?
He has his exoskeleton. He
Okay.
considers those clothes. Because in the last season, he's like, oh, now I know what it's like to be naked. Now you know.
He put a helmet on and he said he had clothes, right?
It's for the uniformity. Everyone needs the robes for ceremony purposes.
He had his custom robe.
Yeah.
The other one we get in the first scene is the Erdell Initiative. I assume it's been referenced before, but that Emery is working there. And it's kind of like, well, yeah, that makes sense. She was working with all the Zeta stuff on Mars. It would make sense to work with the people using the Zeta stuff on Earth. And to know exactly about that, we can refer to, oh wow, this one's a lot older than some of the others. Ask Greg 15274, where we learn that the first time that the Zeta Beam accident happens was conducted by Dr. Erdell, who then is the namesake of the initiative where Adam Strange and Eduardo Sr. work. And it was in 1955, almost a half century before the League gets together in 2003. So that's what caused Martian Manhunter to show up so much earlier than, the League actually getting together.
I'm curious as to, do we have a number when Superman officially landed in YJ?
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
When he started going, because 50 years, Martian Manhunter's been on Earth a while, so I don't think Clark's 50, right?
Yeah.
So that means Martian Manhunter landed before Clark did. Yeah, and it makes me wonder if he probably didn't present himself as Martian Manhunter. I mean, he was a police detective doing police detective-y stuff, so he wouldn't have presented himself as a superhero probably until Superman, right?
According to Ask Greg 16314, he landed in Kansas in 1978. Well, so I also love that, why was, I guess it works with the story, but that Forager was the first one to be like, oh no, here's all the things you don't know. Just fun facts. Gar left everything, which shocks me that she would not know that from anyone else.
Yeah. No, I do like that Forager's just like, so here's the rundown of everything you missed. But also, I do agree, we've established that McGann's been back for long enough that, people are checking in on her. And I guess the argument could be, nobody wants to worry McGann with additional stuff she's got to deal with right now. But also, just, give her a heads up that somewhere on the to-do list should be, check in on your brother, because he's being a disaster.
Yeah, he is finding every bridge and setting it on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure, 100%.
He's seeking out bridges to light on fire.
You can't call your friend Perdita.
Oh, I got a note.
Oh,
I got a note.
I have the same note then.
I think we all have that note. Really?
We can jump to that.
Because the exact quote from Garfield is, I can't believe you called Perdita, you had no right. And I'm over here McGann and Perdita have literally known each other for years. Perdita called both McGann and Connor when Gar passed out last season because of the VR thing.
Exactly.
It makes absolute sense that when there are issues with either of those people, you can call that. Perdita, we've established Perdita is part of the superhero unit. Everyone's allowed to talk to Perdita. So it's just baffling, and it's just another level of Garfield just being a complete disaster right now and just refusing to let anybody help him or interact with him in any healthy way, that he's gonna do the full thing being you had no right. I'm she had every right to check in with your significant other about what was up with you. What are you talking about?
Well, the second layer of that is she has every right to just check on Perdita alone.
That too.
Completely outside of anything. Who, say, yeah, man, I'm concerned about the person I've known for how long and done all of had all these things happen with. And I can just be concerned for my friend. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And boy, Gar, man, dude, awful. Just awful and mean. And Robotman, I totally forgot. Robotman's back. And I'm like, no, he's supposed to have died. And he's like, then they found my head in that river. I was like, oh, cool.
You came back from the dead to give that speech?
Man.
And then he just deflates.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then he does. He deflates. Come on, man.
Sad robot noise.
Yeah.
You know what? I was just actually looking at our voice credits. Is anyone listed as doing him? No. Who did the voice of Robotman?
It sounds like it's Kari Payton, but...
It does sound like it's Kari Payton.
So that's probably why it's not there, because Kari Payton is... We probably just accidentally skipped over it, because Kari Payton's main cast, so whoever put this together probably just said Kari Payton.
Yeah.
That would be me. That's going to be exactly what happened, because that's in a different section.
Because you saw Kari Payton and then forgot about...
Kari Payton.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Nope, there it is. Yep.
I didn't go to the end of the list.
Because I thought so too, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Love guessing a voice actor, right?
And it's good, though, because I'm like, oh, it's Robotman. So there's always a question of, for me, it's a question of, how do you make Robotman not cyborg? And they're very different. But, Robotman as a character, he was a race car driver, right? He's like an adult race car driver, had an accident, and then his brain got transferred in by the chief, quote unquote, the other leader of a super team in a wheelchair who's super smart, but has all the hair instead of totally bald. Yeah. And then he comes across as a very different kind of character. And also like, man, Gar.
But I mean, credit where it's due. It's not like it's not real. I mean, it's not an unreasonable set of circumstances that we are shown. I mean, it is unreasonable in that it is a robot man who's got fished out of a lake, but like the responses from Gar, I mean, as he spirals, it's like, yeah, this is self-destruction at its best. And by best, I mean worst. Then we've all, I remember watching it in time. It's like, where's that ace in the hole? Where's that? Aha! I see we've finally drawn that card. Oh, well, fun fact, unless you really want these bridges to all be gone permanently, you will go and you will talk to Black Canary.
And it's McGann being like, I'm going to try every other possible option I have before going, you are legally forced to go to therapy. But she's going to pull that one if she has to.
To me, I'm like, she says that, and I'm like, you've kicked the only living member left of Doom Patrol except for Mento, who you absolutely hate. The only member left. And you've kicked him in the teeth like that. Part of me is just like, he's so bad. I could see him just going like, well, then I'm out. And then I'm thinking, like, you have to go to one visit with Black Canary. I'm like, there's got to be a provision in there for Black Canary to get that one visit and have Black Canary be like, hey, congratulations, you've earned a dozen visits.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well, I think I 100% believe in that. Is that like,
oh, yeah. Yeah, because she's not going to be like, okay, you had your one visit and you're a train wreck, but you had your one visit, so see you later. I see Dinah doing that.
I think the wording of it is that you have to go to an evaluation once a year to determine whether or not you are okay. It's not you just have to check that box. It's that those are a regular thing to make sure that the actual box that you need to check can be checked.
Yeah.
Fit for duty.
That's where I'm thinking, like, if that's the case, which he should know that that's the case, and they should all know that's the case, and it should be the case, that's where I'm feeling like he has to draw the line, right? Okay, you want to quit the Outsiders and the League and everything else? I mean, he basically already has, but I guess part of in the back of his head is like, I'm taking care of myself, I'll do what I need to do, and I'll come back when I can.
Yeah.
Makes me think of, and this is a weird connect, but follow me. So after every UFC fight, a lot of fighters will get indefinitely suspended until they're medically cleared. So like they're not, like even the person that won has to go get like medical clearance to be allowed, fit to enter the ring once again.
It's just an automatic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You have to get back in.
And it's referred to as an indefinite suspension. Like the idea, like if you were then not to go get medically cleared, you will never fight again.
That's a way to do it.
And I'm talking like the guy who has the champion of the world wins and is like, cool. If you don't go do the thing with the medical staff, you never come back.
Yeah.
Related to all of this, I also did want to point out, we were talking last time about how Calder is coping with things and comparing that to how Garfield is not, and all of the different ways that people are struggling. And this time through watching this episode, I was thinking how like Garfield has that moment where he's like, I know what's best for me. I know what I need to do. I'm just doing this to get by. I'll be fine, whatever. And thinking how that compares to earlier in this season, how Artemis, when asked like, oh, why are you just throwing yourself into your hero work and doing all this? You need to slow down and let yourself mourn. It's like, no, I know what I need. I know what I actually need to process this. And to me, the difference is like Artemis is right and is actually both taking quiet time for herself to deal with stuff, but also knows that she needs things to do. And Artemis does actually know what her process is. And Garfield is just very young and choosing the most destructive path to supposedly process and using the same argument, even though he doesn't have anything to back it up with.
That kid's been through a lot.
Yeah.
He's just doing the bullet point list of people who died. And he said Ted too. And I was like, Ted, was he? And I thought about it. And I'm like, oh shoot. Yeah. He had his powers and was part of the Doom Patrol, probably about the. And Ted died right before season 2, not long before season 2, long enough for Jaime to get the beetle, but probably not that much longer beforehand.
I think it's a couple months because the comics that are set just before Invasion, Jaime has only had his powers for a very short time, so I think it's only been like 3 months max.
Yep,
that sounds right to me.
Because he dies in 2015,
and so Gar had been Beast Boy for years, and Doom Patrol, and been a part of the Doom Patrol, and then part of the team. So yeah, it was like, took me a second, but I was like, oh no, he would have known Ted for years before he got killed. I'm like, I didn't even think about Ted, but like Jason, Wally, Tula, both his moms. My gosh.
Gar's been through a lot, and none of us are saying he hasn't. We're all just saying he's dealing with it as poorly as possible and not letting anyone tell him that. Because it's not even like the self-destructive behavior is bad, but having self-destructive behavior that you're willing to acknowledge as self-destructive and get help when people offer it is fine. You are trying your best in an impossible situation. It's the fact that literally everyone who loves this kid is reaching out and he doesn't want to listen, and it has moved past like, oh, you're just not coping well, to this is not an excuse for being cruel. Which is what McGann says, where she's like, oh yeah, no, it must feel a lot easier to just be awful to everyone, but it's not a good choice.
Yeah, bad choice, y'all.
All this stuff is just because this keeps being a theme throughout the season, and just seeing like the difference between Artemis genuinely leaning on her support system and acknowledging when she needs help, while also knowing that there are certain things that she needs to do that will help her process, that she is a person who needs to throw herself into work to maintain any form of a healthy lifestyle, versus Garfield, who refuses his support system while saying that he knows what he's doing when he clearly does not. As McGann also points out, of like, no, this isn't what you've done every other time. This isn't what you do. You are having a PTSD reaction and you need to get help, because this isn't actually how you process. This is how you self-destruct.
Yeah, this is the opposite.
Well, I think the other thing from this episode is, going back to Calder and leaning on that support group, but potentially not in the best ways. Like, Wind is like, yeah, I'm going to go with you, but I'm super frustrated by this. And it's like, then, the ultimate sister vibe of Delphise is like, well, I'm going to go anyways, because why are you not asking me to help? And then it's like, Lagan's like, I am honored to go with you, but you are definitely taking me potentially away from the birth of my child. But I'm not going to say that. So then it's like, well, maybe there's a different way you could lean on these people that is not this, taking them away for an potentially extended period of time.
Wind is just like, take a break. And Calder's like, why do I need to take a break? All the people I like taking a break with are coming with me to work. You're like,
Yay!
No, Calder.
Kind of. Not really.
Calder, you need a nap. You need a therapy session.
Let me tuck him in with snacks. That boy needs some snacks.
He does. No, it's just very funny to me, because in our household, we do say whenever somebody's having a really bad day, the answer is, do you need music and a snack?
Yeah. That's what we do around here. It's like with our friends when they're having a rough day, it's like, you need to come over. Let us tuck you in and get you snacks.
Other things that I like magical technology. I don't know, I'm very fascinated by it ever since Thor's like, magic and technology is the same thing with different words. I don't know. I just like that, where they have like this elaborate magical DNA tester. There's always like wonder what the line is. Like, are they getting technology from the surface? Are they just developing it themselves the best that they know how? Are they sharing? Is it back and forth? I mean, some of it has to be, because you don't have Zeta tubes without sharing some information.
Yeah, it's probably it's probably back and forth. But the stuff that you make on the surface it's got to be difficult to make it waterproof.
And salt waterproof.
Yeah. And so they're probably like, oh, we got a fix for that. Abracadabra. Done and done. I got a baleen whale for that. Let's take care of that.
It's blubber.
Baleen whale thing.
Okay. All right. Speaking of blubber, who mentions, oh, comparing it to the samples that Batman has, now the ultimate question is, who has more samples, Batman or Vandal Savage? Well, for me, I just feel like Batman probably has like more ways to obtain samples that are not as nefarious as are required by Vandal. But Vandal's had a lot more time to get samples. But then does Batman steal samples from Vandal? Now, I feel like I'm having the same discussion when someone's like, are there more? I can't do this. I can't do it anywhere near a straight face. Are there more doors in the world or are there more wheels in the world? Think about it. I don't know, but a car has 4 wheels. You're right, but most cars have 4 doors. Oh, okay. What constitutes a wheel? What makes a door? So there. I feel like that's the conversation I have produced, and I don't want to have it.
These are the questions we ask.
The other thing that I noticed that I should start doing is, as much as I enjoy the 16s, there haven't been as many. There is the obvious reference of he stopped by 16 times. But the one thing that I also have started to note down is like anytime the lexicon shows up. So then when Jaime is talking, or it's Jaime and Virgil, well, one of them says symbiosis at the end.
Yeah.
And to have that filter in through the team. And then there are multiple trots that show up as well.
And we had the 16 visits.
16 visits to the prison. Definitely, apparently, not 16 visits to Orm.
Right. Subtle but important difference.
Got to the prison and then left, which just wild that is how we piece things together. Because Vandal Savage only had somebody telling him that Orm went to the Atlantean prison that many times, but didn't actually know what was discussed inside.
Yeah, or did you like steal those public records, or
yeah?
I mean, yeah, you got the info somehow.
Spy.
Yeah.
Yep. It is the epitome of the like, how do I know you're not a mole? Tell me something only the real you would know, kind of thing, but reversed. What else do I have?
I have the 9th Tride of Atlantis, that's referred to as Aquaman goes to the bar and he's like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Oh, yeah, you're on the rough side of town. We'll beat you up. And he's like, oh, yeah, but I brought sharks.
Yeah.
It was the 9th. They call themselves the 9th tribe, right?
Yeah, Tride.
9th Tride?
Yeah, so it's actually like a district in like a 9th district that basically like says no to the royal, a district in Atlantis consisting of outcasts, dissonants, gangs, and mutants. It's considered the poorest district in one of the few areas of Atlantis not inherently loyal to the monarch ruler and their cabinet. Serves as the hometown of the villain Coram Wrath, as well as King Shark ruled over it as a crime boss for a while.
Oh, interesting.
So that's why like you kind of have that back and forth of like basically like, yeah, that's cool that you think you're the king, but you're here now, so we don't care. And these again, I brought sharks.
I brought sharks. One thing that we were talking about this before we started recording, when the gang or whatever comes out of that bar that they're in, and the guy in the front, I was looking at him and I'm like, that looks like a character from The Warlord, and that guy is not Atlantean. And so we looked it up right before we started recording, and it's Machiste. I'm guessing Machiste. I can't remember how they pronounce it in the show. They threw an apostrophe in because, Atlantean. But it's basically that. I mean, that was the name of the other character, Machiste. And here it's M'Chiste, who's from Scotaris, which is there's a hole in the earth, and there's the center of the earth has got this whole world in it, and this Air Force pilot named Travis Morgan goes through the hole and ends up inside this world at the center of the earth, and they call him the Warlord. And that was a comic that was done by Mike Grell, who also did Green Arrow, and you can tell because Warlord and Green Arrow look almost exactly the same. So they're the same bone structure, same mustaches, same beards. But yeah, for some reason they drew him into this one. So I'm curious as to where that came from. I think they said this character like is holding a mace or like has a mace over his hand or something like that. But the Machiste in the comics, his hand was taken off and replaced. But he looks exactly the same. He's got the same headdress thing on, the same like crown almost thing on his top of his head. It's like the same outfit. And it's so interesting to me that I don't know any history of him that he was from Atlantis. So why did they pick that guy out of curiosity unless somebody was just a fan of Warlord?
Yeah, got to use somebody. Well, the other thing I think is then based on that, I assume that like the other two are named characters. I mean, well, I think it's safe that I just assume that for everyone, but that if we could reverse engineer their look, but sometimes it's a little difficult because these are but the deepest of cuts when pulling some of the past DC references.
Yeah, if you want to see, I think he makes an appearance in Justice League Unlimited because one of the episodes they actually do go to Skataris. I think Metallo's there or something random. So there's a few of the Justice League members end up in Skataris. They meet Warlord, and I think that same character's in it. So the name of the episode is Justice League Unlimited: Chaos at the Earth's Core. And I think Machiste is in there as well. So anyway, you can see a different version of that character in that Warlord episode. Random deep cut.
Read the comics. That's the answer. They're part of the group that like is beating everybody up back in the comics. They're preparing an attack on Ronald's classmates.
Oh, he's part of that group?
Uh-huh.
Oh, interesting. I haven't. I'm gonna have to go back and read.
Yeah, part of the purists, which means I assume Wind knows him.
Under the Surface, you're right. So it says he's in season 4. He's in 2 episodes, and then companion comics Under the Surface. Wow, I don't think I remember noticing him. I'll have to go back and check. That's awesome.
Conservation of characters.
Right, exactly. So what do we got? What else do we got?
That's pretty much all I have. So,
while we're still talking about Atlantis, I just want to point out a note that I have generally about this arc, which is I just think it's really cool that everything underwater has like a cool fuzzy glow around it to make it look like it's underwater. It just makes the space feel lived in and tangible while also being like mystical and otherworldly, and it is a good touch. The longer I watch this arc, the more I'm like, oh cool, everything has a aura around it and it's cool. We got my notes on Connor's hallucinations out in space, which we'll touch on a bit more in Crashing the Mode. But I think it's a really good device, and it's really good as we're seeing how Connor is processing whatever is happening to them. And all of them hurt my heart of seeing Wally again and having Wally's whole thing being like, yeah, maybe you're dead, but that's not an excuse to give up. And Superman just trying to be supportive brother energy. And then the fact that it's like 3 different versions of McGann who are all just different levels of being supportive and lovely in different energy ways. It's good. Someone hug Connor. Dear God, please. This boy is struggling. I feel so bad for him.
You got to believe you can hug him first.
Hugs are powered by belief.
That's right.
What else?
It's
What
true
else?
in general.
Also with that, as I know we've already had our obligatory go read the comics, but I had to throw a note in here of how we're seeing Match again. But if you've read the comics, we've already seen Match again in the comics, and he looked quite different there. So I just think it's interesting that the Match that we see in the TV show is not the level of like clone cell degradation or whatever the explanation was in the comics, because when we see him
Bizarroed.
in the Invasion
Yeah,
comics, he gets bizarroed basically, and it's just about how fully Kryptonian clones are volatile and have weird stuff happen. But when we see him here, he looks very much like he did back in his appearance in season 1. And I think that's probably just on a literal continuity level, just to make it easy for people to follow if you didn't read the comics. But it's all in Connor's head, which is, of course, also like a completely in-universe excuse for why he would look different. But I think the out-of-universe excuse is just to also keep things clear for people.
I like that weird dream logic, too. Of like, it kind of makes him flash back to that, like, I was supposed to either kill Superman or take his place. There's my 2 choices. I didn't have a third choice until I figured one out for myself. You know, so he sees that happen, and it's like, oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember how I was supposed to do that.
Yep.
And then see that self-reflection.
Yep. And then my final silly note is, so Forager is valedictorian in our ending credits sequence. And for whatever reason this time around, it just made me go, How is Forager valedictorian? He showed up last year with no previous high school records and apparently became valedictorian. And I was joking with Neil before this that like somewhere in that crowd, there is someone who has been like keeping track of their GPA since freshman year and has been intentionally taking heavily weighted classes and trying to like get that spot and put it on all of their transcripts. And then out of nowhere, a giant bug swooped in last year and stole that spot from them, from their perspective. And you know that they are furious somewhere in that audience.
It will haunt them that initially they thought like, is this for an exchange student that's taking over the valedictorian? It's an actual alien. It is a full-fledged bug alien, and they're the valedictorian, and I am not. And did you bring Fred in with like fake high school records up until then, so that like extra questions weren't asked? Did you not, because you're living with the principal? You're like, it's the same kid who's living with the principal, and of course they're the valedictorian. I don't like any of this. Yeah,
but.
Tie-in comic. We want a tie-in comic for that kid.
But
that's their villain arc.
Valedictorian vengeance.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
It's going to be the alliteration for the...
But at least in Forager's defense, he does give a very genuinely good speech in his own way, and I'm proud of him. Good Forager.
Yeah. I like how they were like, hey, we need to have Jason in here for a hot second for Wally. Let's have him... Let's give Forager valedictorian too. Since we got him in the booth.
Because I think it's funny because it's like Forager's valedictorian so that he can give this speech over the credits kind of thing. And part of me is like, he could have just been like the one who got chosen by the class to give a speech, because that's a thing for a lot of places. But no, Forager is valedictorian. That is canon, and it's funnier that way. And yeah. I believe also I just got to throw out that at the very end of the credits audio, I'm pretty sure one of the like cheers of excitement from the crowd is just Nolan North screaming graduation or congratulations. Either way, very funny.
One or the other.
That's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things, starting even from episode 1. Well, is that Speedy? No, I think it's called. And then you can hear that the voice actors arguing.
Now that you know,
yeah, arguing as like people just in the crowd.
Makes no sense.
Yeah,
and I think that was Crispin Freeman. Well, that makes no sense. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, love when you can pick a voice out in a crowd, and also very funny to me because it feels like it was just kind of like, okay, just everybody that we've got in here, just give us some general cheering, excitement, graduation, and to have one of them be just somebody screaming congratulations in the middle of a crowd. It makes me laugh and I like it. It's fun. Love when a credit scene gets to be fun. You got anything else, Neil?
Nope. I'm all ready for modes to be crashed eventually.
Modes to be crashed. All right, well, let's head into the mid-roll and go from there.
Welcome to the Fake Your Own Death Club. Its membership is very exclusive, and I'm the president.
Hello, team, and welcome to the mid-roll. Producer Neil here. I don't have a lot for this episode's mid-roll, just another opportunity to say we love being back in the Watchtower and making more Young Justice content for you, and hopefully one day there will just be more regular Young Justice content out in the world. But until then, yeah, just an opportunity to say, keep binging YJ, still binging YJ, always binging YJ. And with that out of the way, let's head back to the show.
Stick around. Class is in session.
In our Canary Debrief, we'll be discussing what we can learn about the creative process from the episodes that we review. One of the things that stood out to me about this episode is this idea that Connor, for a couple of episodes now, has been completely by himself. So there's having your character in a book be by themselves, not an issue. They're having introspection, you're writing, you're already inside their heads, talking about and thinking about what it is that they're thinking. But when you're doing animation or you're doing a TV show or something, you can't do that unless you just have them echoing inside their own heads. So you need to give them something to interact with, or after a while, they're just going to be talking to themselves. So there's not too many big movies I can think of where this happens for long periods of time. So one of the movies was Castaway, where Tom Hanks is alone on an island, and eventually he has a volleyball that turns into Wilson, and sad things can happen. So you have a character who ostensibly through the vast majority of this movie is by himself on an island. So you can watch him do stuff and that's okay. But after a while, he needs to be able to see inside what his thought process, how he's thinking, how he's feeling, like what his internal changes are. So in this case, they're using at first, which could maybe not be a hallucination. You'd think that Connor is really just thinking about his fiance and how much she supported him. But then it kind of starts rolling into some other things. Since at this point, we don't know where he is or what's going on, these manifestations could be physical, part of his psyche as well. So if you're writing something where you have someone in a space like this, and it's a possibility of their thought processes actually manifesting themselves, that's a way that you can go as well. And we get a chance to see more than just, okay, I'm moving on, but also we get to see some older characters too. So like Kid Flash, or seeing things that are still haunting Superboy, like Match, or his role in potentially having killed or needing to kill Superman as his creation, maybe something subconsciously he's still trying to process through as much as possible. So if you do have a character that's by themselves, there are a couple ways that you can handle it. One of the ways is a little bit like they did it here. So for a little while by himself, talking out loud to himself or talking to the unconscious person he's carrying. But that's not usually how we do it in the real world. So after a while, it may start feeling a little strange. So see if you can find some ways to bring in something for them to interact with, whether it's their own psyche or a volleyball, whatever works.
I'd throw out there's a reason that so many Disney princesses have an animal companion.
Correct.
And the other sci-fi trope to go with that is Moon, which is basically a character by themselves, but they are interacting with the computer system. And that's kind of their touch point back and forth with someone.
The Martian. The Martian's an excellent example, right? Because he's actually he's almost breaking the fourth wall by talking into the computer and recording things, right? But they have him facing out to the audience, which is brilliantly done. And so that's a possibility as well. Yeah. Good ideas, guys. All right. Well, let's head into some fan service and then crash some modes.
I've admired your stance on animal rights for years.
In fan service, we take some time to highlight the amazing fan-related creations celebrating DC, Young Justice, and other creative works we think Young Justice fans will love. And this time around, I'm going to shout out the YouTube channel Jartoon. And they recently put out, everything's recent depending on how you want to look at it, but recently they put out a 89-minute breakdown called The Entire Story of Young Justice in 89 Minutes. Is it truly the entirety? No, of course it's not. Things are missed, episodes are skipped, but if you need a crash course in Young Justice, if you just want that quick hit to bring you up to speed because you wanted to rewatch a certain season, you wanted to see certain parts, you just want a hit of Young Justice nostalgia. They do a great job, the way that they break it down, the way that their intonations are, the little quips that they have. It's just a really fun watch to get Young Justice in 89 minutes or less. So there's a link in the show notes where you can head over and watch that video from Jartoon. But enough of that, let's head to crashing the mode.
Tell us something we don't know yet.
Sorry, BB. We can't risk altering the time stream. We do that, we're all feeling the mode.
Our earlier segments assume listeners have only seen up to this episode in Season 4, and if that's you, good on you. In Crashing the Mode, we will be discussing spoilers and foreshadowing for future episodes as well as plot elements from the original DC storylines that may affect what we see later on. We may also drop theories and speculations about what's to come based on wild flights of fancy.
What you guys got? I think we all got one today. What you got, Emily?
So this is the episode where we get the moment that sent a fandom into spiraling theorizing, which basically boils down to Superman and Miss Martian both appear in normal color schemes, but Kid Flash is in an inverted color scheme like Superboy. So what does that mean? And everyone's just running with that question for months. And there is the interpretation based on everything that we have in the scene, and there is the theory that extrapolates upon it, that I think you can interpret this scene as just being like, well, Connor thinks Kid Flash is dead and also thinks he might be dead, and so just pictures Kid Flash in a form that denotes
I mean,
ghost.
that's totally fair.
And that is a totally valid interpretation of the scene based on the facts we are given. The theory that Kid Flash isn't dead and is also somehow Speed Force Phantom Zone trapped in between stuff and talking to Connor and thus appears like this because he is also, like Connor, not actually dead, just trapped between dimensions, is also, I think, a totally valid theory that just extrapolates on everything that we have. And those are the major bases. Neil, what do you have to say about it?
Well, I think that the second theory had so many more legs to go on because we did not yet know it was the Phantom Zone. So I think like that's why it was so prevalent. And obviously just a deep-seated desire to bring Wally back for any reason at all.
What do you mean? Young Justice fans absolutely do not cling on to every possible small detail that could prove that Kid Flash isn't really dead or could be resurrected. We don't do that. We totally do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not the first time we've seen dead Wally in someone's mind. Back when Gar brought him to the bridge of Space Trek.
Yeah.
So
back in Nightmare Monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, so it's there. I get it. I get the theory. I get the desire. I just still think it's just the way Connor manifested him in the same way that we talked about the way he viewed Match at that time, because that's his recollection. I mean, right before that, you saw 3 different versions of Magan as she has supported him throughout their relationship. So, then again, we all decide Wally's not really dead. So, I mean, where he is though, who knows? But I stand firm on Wally's not dead. Also, we talked about it last time. Arian is currently the clone with the Cyback backup of Ocean Master prior to dying at the hands of Lady Shiva, whereas the Orm that's there is a clone Ocean Master with the Cyback and adjusted memories from Simon. So I wrote in my notes, did Ocean Arian, to see if I can help keep this somewhat tracking, did he give them the clue to dig deeper to get the crown? Do we think that
on purpose?
Yeah. To say, yeah, no one's found it because XYZ. And then that seems to set off like, oh, hey, Calder, can you put a team together to go dig way deeper because no one's done that?
Yeah. I mean, maybe. The thing that was killing me about this Arian was this whole, like, he doesn't want to be there. He keeps trying to get out of the option. He doesn't want to, he keeps talking about it like, please stop doing all this, which is exactly the opposite of what Vandal theoretically wants to have happen.
Yeah, but is he just doing the hard sell though the whole time?
Yeah.
The other thing that this thought brings up is how did the Red Death thing? Because that was part of the child's pillar of fire. Did someone else just like, now's the time and like set it off? Like, is that how elaborate this plan is? Is it just serendipitous that it happened to be a Red Death?
Did Vandal Savage have a plan and a child's thing preempted that plan and just happened to work out? And like Vandal Savage maybe had something in the works for like how to make the prophecy happen, but then the prophecy, just actually started happening and was like,
Project 3 knows. Like, okay, whoa, turn the dial on that one. Now's the time. Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what? Whatever the situation is, the prophecy happens.
Yeah.
Like it happens. But like also before, like, I mean, Ocean Master was there. So maybe he could have been close, and before he showed up to help stop the problem, he could have been in that area and started the red fog without knowing it. I don't know. Clone programming, broken arrow, broken trident, whatever his programming is, we don't know.
Yeah. And the quick Orin, Tamira, I leave our kingdom in your capable hands. And then he flies off. It's like, yeah, further planting those seeds, to eventually get to where she wears the crown. Which we would have seen in the trailer for the second half when they're all standing around the bell and she is there and she has a crown on and no one put it together until after that episode. Or I don't know of anyone that put it together until after the episode. Because we were shown her wearing the crown.
Because with that at least you can say we hadn't seen any of Calder's arc yet.
Oh, I know.
So when that trailer came out, so like we hadn't seen if there'd just been a change in Mira's design for the season. Yeah. So no one was jumping to like, well, actually, we're gonna status quo changing things are happening. Everybody just probably kind of shrugged and was like, oh yeah, she's wearing a crown. She's Queen of Atlantis.
Oh, no, it's only like half a second.
She has crown things. Yeah, exactly.
And there were other things in that trailer to panic over.
Maybe.
It's possible. The only thing I was thinking we hadn't mentioned yet in Crashing the Mode was, like with Season 3, there's a message in the Season 4 credit titles, which we wouldn't have fully understood without all the titles and to the end, which was the titles spell out Invitation to Kneel Before Zod. So we'll see where that ends up going.
We'll see relatively soon.
That's it, really. Also, but it's pretty evident in this episode, Garfield's hashtag doing terrible. I don't know what our hashtag is anymore.
Connor's not dead.
Garfield is having a time.
Lex Luthor did nothing wrong.
Robotman can survive with just a head. That's surprising to me.
But yeah, all of our discussion in this episode of how the Black Canary therapy sessions work, we'll get to see that soon.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll get to see Black Canary sitting there not taking actual notes because she knows she just needs to wait this boy out.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's incredible. So good.
We love her. And on that note.
All right. On that note, and with all that, I think we can Zeta out of the Watchtower.
If you'd like to join us in discussing this incredible series, you can find us on Twitter at the YJ Files, on our website, crashingthemode.com, and you can even email us at whelmedpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
And if you'd like to support our show, please consider sharing it with a friend and joining our chats on social media. You can also support the show by giving us a 5-star review and or rating on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. The ratings, comments, and subscriptions help others find the show. If you do leave us a rating, please let us know at our email address or on social media, especially if you're outside the US, as we have to look a little bit harder to find those.
If you are able to support us monetarily, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/crashingthemode. Even $1 a month can help us bring you even more awesome discussion sessions, interviews, reviews, and more.
And remember, stay whelmed,
everyone. That was closer
Neil,
than most.
I'm just going to give you the biggest pinch when I see you on the boat.
Whelmed, everyone should stay.
Okay, Yoda. All right, that was good timing. Thanks, y'all.
Yep.
Next time on Whelmed.
You've been listening to Whelmed, the Young Justice Files podcast. Our hosts are Rich Howard and Emily Booza. Our editor and producer is Neil Powell. Our theme was composed by Emily Mio. Our logo was created by Kevin Bates. Whelmed is a fan-made podcast and is not officially affiliated with DC Comics, DC Entertainment, Warner Brothers Animation, and any other owners of Young Justice or its related source material. As such, these companies have sole ownership of all symbols, images, names, logos, and proprietary material related to Young Justice. Original content of this podcast is ours under Creative Commons. Thanks for listening, and stay whelmed.